Hi and welcome to the simplest guide to using blue-green deployments in Kubernetes. Our speaker today is Dan Garfield. He's our chief evangelist from Codefresh, and I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself and start the webinar.
My name is Dan Garfield. Like Karen said, I'm the chief evangelist at Codefresh. I do a lot of our go-to-market stuff, but I'm also a full-stack engineer and Kubernetes, and have been building Kubernetes apps for probably over a year and a half now, and I've spoken at KubeCon and been heavily involved with the community, both from Kubernetes and Helm and Istio, and work with a lot of those open source projects on kind of how we can push them forward and things. But anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Today Was Awesome. Feel free to hit up at Codefresh as well if you have questions after this, or if you want to collaborate on anything. Happy to do that. Just by way of introduction, Codefresh is a CI/CD platform designed specifically for Kubernetes and specifically for containers, and so it's got a lot of sort of built-in tooling to help you build, test, and deploy your Kubernetes applications. But today we're going to be talking about blue-green deployment, and this is going to be the simplest way to do blue-green deployment by yourself today. Hopefully you get a lot of it. So the question is, what is blue-green deployment, just to start off? Blue-green deployment is basically you have a version of your application that we're going to call a blue version. This is production version. And that's what users are currently seeing. And you roll out the green version, which is the new version, and then you switch everything over to the green version, and then maybe you get rid of the blue version. You don't have to get rid of the blue version. You might want to keep it around as a hot swap. And just to, I want to kill the screen share here for a second, just so we can talk about it. But basically, like, if you think about it, this is actually the first way that I learned how to deploy software. So when I got started years ago, what we would do is we would have two servers, and one, the load balancer would be pushing traffic to one, and then I would FTP or SSH into the second server, push my changes, say, hey, that probably looks good, switch the load balancer over to that one. If there were any issues, I'd switch back. Otherwise, it would switch there. And that was blue-green, right? It's everybody gets one version of the application at a time, and when you're ready to switch, everything switches over. So I've got some handy visual aids here. When it comes to Kubernetes, of course, we're dealing with containers, and I didn't have a green container, so it's blue-orange deployment. But basically what's going to happen is you've got your blue version that's in production, and this is what users are seeing. We're going to introduce the green version. This is green, so it's part of the guide. This is green. You introduce your green version, and your user is still only getting the blue version. And when you're ready, you make a switch so that they get the green version. And then it's optional if you want to remove the blue version or if you want to keep it around as a hot swap that you can fall back on. So goes down, and I'm going to animate this because one of the questions I got, we've done if you haven't seen, we did Canary deployment guide using Istio, which is quite a bit more advanced and kind of the direction that I advise people to go in. But as you just get into Kubernetes, and Istio is still relatively new, there aren't that many people using it in production yet. But with Kubernetes, I got questions about different deployment strategies because it can get confusing about how your deployments work, and there's some nuances between different deployment strategies that make it difficult. So if you're doing a default Kubernetes deployment, you're doing a rolling update. And a rolling update is a little bit different. I'm going to show you this animation here that I think will help explain it. So when you do a rolling update, you basically introduce the new version of your application and remove the old version of your application at the pod level. And so to reiterate that, let's say right here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 pods, so to speak, of our blue version. we issue a rolling update, and what's going to happen is as the new pods come online, it will remove the old one that it's replacing, and your end user could be getting the blue version or the green version. We don't know, right? They're just going to get one randomly assigned by the load balancer until the rolling update is complete. So there are lots of situations where you don't want to have that happen, and it puts you in a position where you don't have a hot swap available. If there are any issues, you can't roll back, so you can't do like a post-deploy health check and then just say, oh, switch back to the old one because I don't want to use it. So the rolling update is fine for a lot of people, but it's not as controlled. You don't have nearly as much control